Hi, DLL. Started playing Baldur's Gate with my wife in split screen. Unfortunately, not too many games have split screen couch co-op these days.
Yeah.
What are your favorites, either recent or old?
Oh, dude, the Halo games got a lot of play on the split screen. My dad and I don't remember. I think it was Halo 2. I don't remember which one it was. It was either Halo 1 or Halo 2. When you beat one of the missions, it would show the shield icon for the difficulty level. So like legendary, it had the shield and the two swords crossing and the skull on it, and then it had all the other ones. And we had this mission where we wanted every single icon for every single level. So my dad and I beat every single level in that Halo game on legendary and the other difficulties, and it was actually kind of fun.
Can I derail this conversation for a second here and talk about how the gaming culture has changed by having so many options for games? You would, unless you are a completionist and you're kind of into that, you would never play a game like that anymore. And I really realized this. I realized this as I was going through, and there was some stupid puzzle where you're supposed to push orbs around in Chained Echoes that my brain was tired and I didn't feel like it. And so I went to look up a walkthrough for it. And then there was also, I was trying to get some information on crystal combining and kind of the rules around that. And finding resources for this game, there's a handful of Reddit threads on any given subject, but basically nothing. And this is a game that, from my understanding, was reasonably successful. But you compare that to trying to find the way that people will obsessively deconstruct a game one of my all-time favorites and my childhood favorite game, Final Fantasy VI. The way that people have dug into every little bug and miscalculation in the combat system and every possible combination of weapons and relics and espers and other items and whatever else, right? The way that people, and I'm sure there's exceptions to this, but the way that the common experiences that we shared were more common, I feel like. If you were a gamer growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, grand scheme of things, were there that many really good games for the Nintendo 64?
GoldenEye?
Sure.
Donkey
Perfect Dark,
Kong.
Donkey Kong, Mario Kart.
Mario Kart was amazing.
Mario Party.
Smash Bros.
Sure, Smash. And we're going to probably be able to come up with 10 or 20. But nowadays, if I were to say, okay, yeah, how many good games are there for Steam Deck?
Star Fox.
Are any two...
Super Mario 64.
Okay, that's not the point. The point is that we're talking about on the order of tens.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're talking about a game library smorgasbord on the order of thousands, to the point where you and I could both be gamers, play nothing but S-tier awesome games, and have
never played the same
absolutely
games.
Nothing to talk about to each other.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, part of that is the historical library of games, because I as much as I'm pumping up Baldur's Gate, and we had Elden Ring come out, which was just incredible, and there's a lot of high hopes for Starfield, and the new God of War games have been fantastic, and there is actually good stuff going on right now. I feel like the frequency of good game releases has maybe decreased in recent years. But there are still bangers coming out.
But you're talking AAA only right now.
Yeah, there's some big time indies, but I feel like the indies have slowed down a little bit too, if I could possibly argue. In the Super Meat Boy era, it was all the time. But indies were the best thing to play.
But was that just Humble Bundle pumping it?
I don't think so. Genuinely.
Okay, so they don't just have less marketing now? Because I don't know, Dave the Diver was a breakout hit.
Fantastic.
Stray,
I'm not saying they don't.
Chained Echoes,
I'm not saying they don't
playing
exist.
Right now.
Not saying they don't exist.
Sure.
I feel like maybe it was Humble Bundle. I don't know.
Yeah, people in chat are piping up.
There was a golden age of indies.
Technically, Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie. They have no publisher. Okay. Okay. Actually... what you're
I
referring
mean, that's
to
really cool and shows a huge amount of success for Larian. There was a ton of stuff going around of people being like, no one should be able to expect the quality level of Baldur's Gate 3 because they obviously had a huge amount of funding from like the D&D owners, which I think is like Wizards of the Coast or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Hasbro, basically?
Yeah, something like that. And like the Larian studio people were like, what? That's not how this works. Like, they didn't pay us to make this. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very cool that they've been able to find that much success basically on their own. I think that's awesome.
DLSS has been a net positive for gaming in general, in my honest opinion, but I have seen a couple videos recently suggesting it's becoming a requirement for games to be playable. Thoughts on DLSS being a necessity?
So just before you respond to that, apparently it does play Atari 2600 and 7800 game cartridges. Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. DLSS being a necessity?
Yeah, they're just so unoptimized, or the graphics require so much stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of games coming out right now that are basically just like, yeah, if you don't have an RTX 4090, good luck running this at 4K 60. So if you have anything other than that, you're basically relying on DLSS to get playable frame rates.
1440p
or like
gamer.
smooth frame rates. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. I mean, look at how much the pace of GPU development, like GPU raw performance improvement, has declined from like a year over year standpoint. I mean, it used to be we would get new generations of GPUs once a year. Now we're lucky to get a new generation of GPUs every 2 years, 3 years. And honestly, like looking at how much money NVIDIA is making on AI crap right now, like billions and billions and billions, we may be moving into the end game of NVIDIA caring at all about consumer graphics. I don't know what to say, man. Because yes, it's still a significant portion of their revenue, but it is so much less profitable and it is so much more work, and everyone kind of hates them for it. If I'm sitting there, I'm Jensen right now. I'm wearing a leather jacket. I'm sitting here in my beautiful kitchen going, why am I even bothering?
I can make way less money and have everyone be mad at me, or I can make way more money and everything's cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunate situation. I commented before about how like we just keep cycling into like exactly what would be the most beneficial for NVIDIA. I feel like that's like if you want to figure out like just investments in general, just figure out like what would be the most beneficial for NVIDIA to happen next in the world, and just like plan based off that.
Right?
Because like cryptocurrency blowing up, and then you see cryptocurrency going down, and we're all like, yeah, and then they're just like, the next best thing. Now it's hyper corporate.
I mean,
let's go.
It's clearly not an accident at this point. You got to give them credit. They have played the game extremely well.
Yeah.
They were out there investing in machine vision and machine learning and general purpose computing on the GPU. There was a clear vision.